All right, well, good morning, Facebook. We're coming at you live, and we're going to be going over investing today. So this is Coffee with the Crew. We got all of our agents on the team here with us, and we're just going to go over some questions that I have for the agents and some of their experiences and what they do for a living, and talk about investing. So first question is, how does one start investing in real estate? Jamie?
So I started investing in real estate probably when I was around 27. I bought my first rental property. I had seen something on TV. I can't remember exactly where it came from because it's been just, a few years ago. But Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. So reading that, I was in a different career. I was actually a hygienist at the time, and read that and just thought, wow, okay, it's a very easy way to start investing. So I don't think there's ever a right or a wrong way. I mean, the wrong way is to buy in a very high marketplace, which makes it very tough to make money. But if you're going to hold, that doesn't matter. So if you buy in a high market like today, so let's just say, you're young, we've talked about this before. If you bought today and you hold it for 10 years, it's not going to matter for you. In my case, where if I bought today in a high market and I want to retire in, let's say, 5 to 6 years, it would be a little different situation because if I wanted to turn it. So there's no wrong or right way. I think just reading, making sure that what you're doing and talking to people who actually understand investments. I had somebody ask the other day about it's called a 1% rule, which when you start reading about investments, that's what it is. 1% of rent should equal the sales price. But in this marketplace, a 1% rule it's almost impossible to find. So does that mean you should not be investing in this market? No, absolutely. That's just crazy because rates are, my last investment property was 3.5%. So I bought another one. Actually, I'm closing on it Friday. So I hope that answered the question. Maybe some other people can say how they got into it.
Jay, what's your take on that?
So I'm coming from the other side. I'm a beginning investor. I'm actually in the process right now of purchasing my first investment property. I agree totally with what Jamie had said. You really need to be educated and make sure that you understand exactly what you're doing. The last thing you want to try to do is jump in feet first because you'll be underwater pretty quick if you purchase the wrong investment. For me, I've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad as well. Right now I'm on the BRRRR, which is the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Just trying to educate myself on what I need to be looking for in these investments. I've been watching a lot of podcasts and just trying to really get myself educated. And I actually wanted to share something from one that I just watched by Palaka Shah. And I really like her structure. She has what's called the 4 S's, which means to keep it small, to keep it simple, to keep it scalable, and to keep it specific. So really outlining what your business plan is. I mean, as a first-time investor, of course, I don't want to go buy like a huge complex. So we want to keep it small, keeping it simple, knowing exactly what I'm going after. So it's always kind of that same specific type of property, but being open to other deals. And then making it scalable. So that way, down the road, kind of where you want to be, because you can't really set yourself up to hit that goal if you're not sure what that goal is. And then keep it specific. So she talked about knowing specifically what you're targeting and if that's small residential homes, if it's multifamily homes, larger complexes. Because then as you network with other people, they begin to know you as that specific person. So anytime they see that specific property come up, they'll think of you automatically. And that's just another part of helping with the networking. So mainly those are kind of the things I'm trying to go based off of. I think the 4S is really great, and it's really kind of helped me structure how I want my investing to go.
Yeah, I definitely like that method. That's really interesting. I haven't heard about that. Cindy, what are the steps and methods to start investing?
So there's a very popular method. It's called the Bur method, not Bur, I'm cold, but it's B with 4 R's behind it. And what that stands for is to buy a property, rehab that property, rent it out, refinance it, and then repeat it all over again. Now, what that means is that you're looking for a property, usually that you can get at a better deal. So that means it needs some work. You rehab it, which means that once you rehab it, you don't have to worry about all those midnight calls that you have a busted pipe, hopefully, because you've already done the work to it. Then once you get that all done, you get someone in there. You usually get a better quality tenant in there when you've rehabbed it and it's a nice little property. They're renting it. You can then go back to the bank, refinance it, so you get all your money back. So your money's not just sitting there. You let your money work for you so you can do the whole thing all over again, building your real estate portfolio. So there's really no end to it. And so when you have limited amount of money, how do you get into it? The first one, well, you can go to a hard money lender. And I think that's where John's going to come in.
So, yeah, so to segue off of that, I definitely recommend getting a team of people in place. One of those people being hard money. So hard money is basically cash, but from a non-traditional lender. So a little bit higher interest rate than traditional lending. But getting your traditional lending in place, so having a good investment banker or mortgage lender that can help you is huge, especially if you don't have the cash, the hard money, the traditional financing, and then even possibly a line of credit to be able to afford some of that rehab cost that traditional lending and some hard money lenders won't lend on is that rehab. They'll lend on the value of the property, but may not lend on the actual rehab of that property. So getting your contractors in place, having connections with all different types of contractors, having connections or knowing who to call for regional building, for inspectors, for utilities, for anything that surrounds that, having the people that, if you look for cabinets, tile, all of those people. And then obviously the last one is having a great real estate team. So people that know investing, people that know the market, and then people that can help you market that property once you're ready to, if you're doing a flip, once you're ready to flip it, or having a good property management company to then manage your property so there's a little less stress.
Can I add one thing to that? So John, when we're talking hard money loan, just for people who aren't really familiar with investing, is a lot of times hard money loans are for a very short period of time. So you wouldn't want to get a hard money loan for, 5 or 6 years, which normally they don't go that long anyways, but it's a transition loan basically. From it gives you a chance to get the hard money so you can make a cash offer, rehab money so that you can rehab the property like Cindy was talking about, and then refinance so that you could get the lower rate. So hard money lender is a very short term. So if you're looking for that, just to go off of there, I think your description is perfect as far as that. I just wanted to let people know it was like kind of a transition loan almost.
Right, for sure. Yeah, you don't want that high interest rate for very long. So Ashley, what do you think the advantage of investing in real estate is?
So there's two obvious ones right off the bat. You have the potential for constant cash flow, and then also long-term appreciation. So as you have these tenants in place, they're basically paying down your mortgage, and in turn, you're building the equity with each payment that's being made. So this appreciation, investors make money through rental income. Most property values increase over time. This is proven true even this year, despite the pandemic. par, their stats for the annual report for last year, we showed a total of 3,082 properties sold in 2020 compared to the 2,842 in 2019. So despite the pandemic, there was a rise in units sold. And so that's something that you can't really get with many other investments. Is just a guarantee, really.
Jamie, what's your take on that, since you know you're in?
Jamie or Jay?
Jamie.
Okay, sorry. So one of the things that we do is look at I can't remember who said it, so I can't quote somebody, but it said, don't wait to buy real estate and wait, which is exactly what we've done. So at times we thought we paid too much for a property and we waited, you wait out the market, and now here we are. So property we bought probably less than 5 years ago, we paid 125 for it. There's the next door comp just listed for 315. So if that goes under contract, we're going to go ahead and sell it and build a new construction, because we're going to take all the equity out of there, which at that point we would have a new property, a little more probably invested, will probably be around 400,000, and but have a brand new property. So we'll increase our rents. And then for us, because we are older and going to retire someday, that property will live longer, if that makes sense. Like have not so many repairs as we're getting older, because it'll be a new property. So it's never a bad time to invest. And one of the things I know, so Jay and I are related. So Jay's my son. One of the things that I had told Jay going in early is buying your own property is the investment in yourself. Because you're either going to pay a landlord, right? Or you're going to pay yourself back. So if you have the ability to purchase a house and live in it, because an investment only doesn't work out if you can't outlive the market, basically. So if you have a quick change of job, or you're going to be relocated, sometimes that's not the best if you can't turn it over, if you have to turn it over in a couple of years. But if you're young, like all of you guys, then you can buy now and hold for years until the market improves. You've never seen in history where prices are going to decrease. In 06, we had a different scenario, 06, 7, 8. We had a lending crisis, which is a lot different than a market adjustment. I mean, it is a market adjustment, but we had a lot of bad loans. And so a lot of people failed on the loans, and then people couldn't get loans. When you see this adjustment, I think you're going to see a few more foreclosures on the market, because of forbearance is going to come due. I believe it's in September of this year, and those people will need to catch up. So I think you'll see some investment properties here in the next year or two. And then if you can buy and hold, it's great. And like in our case, we've been holding them for, oh gosh, we just keep moving up. So we'll buy a property, sell it when the market gets good, and then move up to a better property. Sorry, I'm simple. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, I think you definitely did. I like how you guys have scaled, and knowing you for 7 years now, I've seen you grow your portfolio, and now where it's at, it's awesome, and that's what you guys continue to do, is scale. So I think that we answered all those questions very good. And anyone else have anything that they want to mention about investing real quick?
I think one of the things I'll say is get an agent who knows what they're doing. So one of the reasons that I became a real estate agent is I was investing when I was 27. I was a dental hygienist. And one of the questions that I asked the agent was, how do I know this will be a good rental? Like, and the thing that shocked me is he didn't know numbers. So he couldn't tell me, oh, you're buying it this, the rent should be somewhere around here. If you hold it in 3 years, usually these properties appreciate a certain amount. And I was always shocked. So when that happened, I thought, I'm going to go to real estate school so that I can learn how to invest it's my money, so I'm very tight with it. Like I want to know where it's going. I want control of it. So I went to real estate school and I was doing some other things too, but and then realized that real estate school doesn't teach you value. So now I went to appraiser school so that I could learn how to value a property. So and I guess where I'm going with that is you need somebody who's educated. So if they don't have a ton of investment properties, they probably maybe are not the best choice unless they have um, a lot of guys. Yeah, they'll do like computer analysis and knock things into spreadsheets and then can tell you that. But I would just say that it's always a plus to have somebody who is knowledgeable of an actual investment in the risk and the reward into it. And an investment doesn't have to be a secondary home. It could be your primary home. And then every 2 years at this point, you know, with the way that taxes are, you can take out 250,000 as a single. So if I bought a house for 200,000, I made 60,000 on it. 2 years later, I could take the 60,000, now buy and roll it into another property, which is one of the strategies that my husband and I use in our house is free and clear by doing that. So every 2 to 3 years we would move. The kids didn't love it. They stayed in the same school, but we lived in a lot of houses, but it was a great investment for our future.
Or another idea of that is you live there for a couple of years, you refinance and you keep that single family rented out and buy another property. So, I mean, there's always different ways in how you want to do it. It's just, do you want to deal with the people or, it's all in how you want to do it. There's different ways and different methods. So.
And I know John mentioned one thing is that have a great property manager, which is the key. Because I think most people that end up selling their investment properties, it's the nightly calls or the calls on the weekend or when they're out of town or we have a small leak and you can't find a plumber to come out or things like that. And so I'm in the business and I have a property manager. I don't manage any of my own properties because I don't want the call 4th of July weekend when I'm in the mountains and you can't get it. You have no service. So a lot of times I see investors just selling off their property because they're so fed up with the maintenance. So looking at it, just put that number, that percentage of having somebody else manage it for you into your figure. It will cause you a lot less grief, and it's still a tax write-off. So the money that you're paying out to do that is just another portion of an investment. And I think people look at it and they're like, I don't want to give up that percentage. It's worth it to give up the percentage. They have all the contacts, they have all the people on call. It's definitely a small portion of the rent to make sure that your property is taken care of.
And normally that percentage is about 10%. So I think when something big like that happens, like a plumbing issue, it's definitely worth that 10% when you're looking at something major like that. We own a duplex and having that property manager in place has just been a lifesaver because we've been out of state and having that person to be like, okay, well, we just got a phone call and this is what's happening and we can take care of it. Like that is, it's great having that backup plan.
I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday or the day before, and he was talking about, well, we manage our own properties, because I was talking, about an investment property down here. And I said, because he was talking about how he wanted to save that money, right? And I was like, you can't quantify that as a number, the amount of stress that's relieved, the amount of long-term, because it wears on people if they're constantly getting phone calls, constantly having to deal with fixing things. That wears on you, and then eventually you are, like Jamie said, you just want out. Like you're like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. It becomes so stressful. That property management company really takes all of that stress off of you, even though it costs you. In the long term, it's a huge benefit because I think you'll realize more appreciation the longer you're able to hold that property.
Exactly. And I know Cindy did her first investment this year, so she learned a lot, I think, just by, looking. So one of the things too is the initial looking at the property, right, Cindy? So doing a really good walkthrough and in investigating inspections. So do you want to share your experience?
Sure. So we did our first flip. We were going to keep it as a rental, but the market was so good right now that we went ahead and sold it. But it's very, very important when you're first looking at the property, make sure you get that in-depth inspection so you know exactly what you're getting into. And then even when you get an inspection, sometimes you find something that wasn't found, like little termites. That's what we found. But it was another step, a little bit more money, but we got it taken care of, turned the property into a real cutie, and a wonderful young family just starting out is very happy there. So it was very informative and very satisfying journey.
And Cindy did her and her husband and boys did all of the work themselves pretty much.
Yep, most of it.
It was a little journey for them.
Yes, it
Oh,
was.
but it was.
That's awesome.
That's great.
So
Yeah, now we're ready to
one
go
last
move
thing. Oh,
Oh,
sorry,
sorry.
Cindy.
Now we're ready to move on. We're taking that money. We're going to do the Bur Method, and we're going to try another one.
Awesome.
Awesome. The one person I forgot to mention, and Jamie kind of brought it up a little bit, is make sure you have a good tax preparer that knows how to deal with real estate, because there's all kinds of different things that they can use to take advantage of some of the tax loopholes and be able to depreciate your property appropriately. So make sure you have a good tax preparer as well.
And of course, a 1031 exchange. So right now, and I know that's kind of what John's probably leading to, along with the deductions, is 1031 exchanging so that's what we would do with a new property. So if we sold the duplex, we 1031 exchange those profits into a new profit. So we're deferring our tax. And you really have to have somebody knowing the process, because you need a 1031 company to be involved in that. And then making sure that your accountant is looking out for you. So all these improvements that you're putting in the property, you just want to make sure that you're getting the credit for them. And I know a lot of accountants that they're not looking at your books that close. So you really have to explain, like, we put $20,000 or $30,000 into this house. So it's really not a profit. That's coming off the top. So shop around. I think that's the motto, is make sure you have the right people.
And can anyone go over kind of capital gains? How is that kind of basically avoiding that? Or I don't know too much about that.
So that's what 1031 exchanges are, is avoiding the gain until you're at a different tax bracket. So for you guys, for younger people, when I say younger, under 50, because I think after 50, you're kind of looking towards retirement. So under 50, you want to try and avoid the gain as long as you can, so that when you get to a retirement age of 65, your tax liability is less. So at that point is when you want the gain to come into play, so that your tax liability is less. If you do, if you cash out and you do have a profit, so you don't do the 1031 exchange, there is going to be either a short-term or a long-term capital gain on the profit. So it's something, and the one thing is, I have a lot of investors that are like, I want to sell it today, but we don't have a game plan for it tomorrow. Well, we can't sell today and protect your money if we don't know where it's going, like a 1031 exchange, or if they want to pay the gain, which I have had a few people pay the gain. Not most people want to pay it, but if they just want to get out, then you would pay the gain. But that's what it means, is you're just deferring Uncle Sam until you get a little bit older, and hopefully your tax liability is less because you're not working as much, hopefully.
Right.
And then you that 1031 for a similar property. So it has to be a like kind.
What does that mean, Ashley?
So you have an investment property and you have a 1031, then you have to turn that gain and your money that you earn, that 1031, you have to turn around and use that for another investment property. It
Right.
cannot be
Like
for single family.
Probably like kind. So if I sell my residential, I can't go buy a commercial property with that gain. It has to be like kind.
Yeah, and if you have an investment property, you can't use it as your primary residence.
Right.
It's very important to use someone that's knowledgeable if you don't have that knowledge, and do some research. Even with the Bur method, if you're using the Bur method, you need to research your hard lenders, and you need to make sure that once you get that place rehabbed, rented, you're able to refinance it. So you're able to go to the bank, you have the credit score that you're able to refinance and get your money. It would be terrible to be stuck in a property and you couldn't get your money back out of it. So we just don't want you to jump feet first into investment. We want you to talk to us, talk to some other people, make sure you're ready for that move. We don't want you stuck.
All right. What do you think, April?
I think that was great. All of you guys you bring a ton of value. So I appreciate you meeting with me, and we're gonna end it for today. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little informational piece, and we're gonna say adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.